The emergency klaxons echoed through the Galactic Academy's training dome, their shrill pitch designed to unsettle even the most composed species. Instructor Veltharn's 6 eyes narrowed as he observed the chaos unfolding on the monitors. 23 cubs from 17 different species scrambled in panic, their training forgotten in the face of simulated catastrophe. Except 5. Veltharn's mandibles clicked in confusion as he watched a small cluster of cubs moving with purpose through the smoke-filled corridor. A Zelnari youngling barely past its first molt was carrying an injured Kroth cub twice its size. A Vortian, whose species was notorious for their individualistic cowardice, was organizing others into a chain formation. Most shocking of all, a Quillan cub, whose people had evolved as prey animals, was leading the group toward safety with unwavering determination. "Pause simulation," Veltharn commanded, his translator collar humming with authority. The holographic disaster flickered and froze. The panicked cubs slumped in relief, but the 5 continued their actions for several more seconds before realizing the drill had ended. They stood together, breathing heavily, supporting one another with an ease that spoke of practice. Veltharn descended from his observation platform, his chitinous frame towering over the assembled younglings. 47 years he had trained the galaxy's future officers, and never had he witnessed such a display from first-rotation cubs. "Explain," he said, his voice a rumble that made several cubs shrink back. "This coordinated response, this disregard for species-appropriate survival protocols. You," he gestured to the Vortian, "your kind's instinct is solitary flight. You," he pointed at the Quillan, "your people freeze when confronted with danger, yet you moved as though you had trained together for cycles." The 5 cubs exchanged glances. Then, as one, they turned and pointed across the training floor at Cadet Lyra Dane. The human stood apart from the other instructors, her slight frame dwarfed by the massive alien educators around her. She had been observing from the corner, arms crossed, her face holding that peculiar expression humans called a smile. Veltharn had learned to be wary of that expression. The human? Veltharn's translator struggled with his tone of disbelief. "Cadet Dane is an observer. She has no authority to instruct." "She didn't instruct, honored teacher." The Quillan cub spoke up, her ears still trembling from the adrenaline. "She showed us." "Showed you what?" "How to be afraid and move anyway," the Zelnari added, setting down the Kroth cub gently. "She told us fear is not the enemy. Paralysis is." Veltharn turned his attention to Lyra Dane. The human walked forward with that characteristic bipedal swagger her species possessed, neither hurried nor hesitant. She was young for a human, barely 20 standard cycles, yet she carried herself with a calm that unsettled him. "Cadet Dane," Veltharn said carefully, "you were instructed to observe, not interfere with established training protocols." "I observed, instructor," Lyra replied, her voice steady. "I observed cubs being trained to follow their instincts in emergencies. Noble idea, except instincts freeze prey, scatter packs, and make individuals prioritize self above all. Instincts ensure survival. Instincts ensure individual survival, maybe. Not mission success. Not team survival." Lyra gestured to the 5 cubs. "I didn't teach them to ignore their instincts. I taught them to act despite them. An impossible task for most species. Most species never needed to learn it." Lyra's expression softened, becoming something Veltharn couldn't quite identify. Sadness, pride? Humans aren't the fastest, strongest, or smartest species we've met since joining the galactic community. We're not the best at anything, really. Except one thing. And what is that? We're the best at being terrified and doing the thing anyway. Veltharn's mandibles clicked rapidly, his species equivalent of a skeptical laugh. A dubious achievement. Is it? Lyra looked at the 5 cubs who stood straighter under her gaze. Every predator in Earth's history was faster, stronger, had better teeth, better claws. Every natural disaster should have wiped us out. Every disease, every famine, every war. And yeah, we were scared. We're still scared. But we learned something that apparently no other species needed to learn. She turned back to Veltharn, and for the first time, he saw something ancient in those young human eyes. We learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's fear walking forward anyway. It's the Vortian who wants to run but stays to help. It's the Quillan who wants to freeze but chooses to lead. It's the Zelnari who's too small but carries someone anyway. You taught them to override their evolution? I taught them that evolution gave them instincts for survival. But survival isn't living. Thriving is living. Protecting others is living. And sometimes, you have to tell your screaming instincts to shut up for 5 minutes while you do what needs to be done. The training dome fell silent except for the soft humming of holographic generators powering down. Veltharn looked at the 5 cubs, then at the others who had panicked, then back at Lyra Dane. Your methods are unorthodox, he said finally. My methods are human, Lyra corrected. And before you file a formal complaint, consider this. In the simulation, those 5 cubs saved 17 others. The rest are still waiting to be rescued. Veltharn's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his kind. 47 years of training, and he had never seen first rotation cubs achieve a 73% survival rate. Cadet Dane, he said slowly, your observation period is concluded. Report to Training Division Gamma tomorrow at dawn cycle. Sir, if you're going to corrupt our cubs with human recklessness, Veltharn said, his translator catching the edge of something that might have been approval, you might as well do it officially. As Lyra Dane saluted and walked away, the 5 cubs following her like ducklings after their mother, Veltharn made a note in his report. Subject, Cadet Lyra Dane, human observation. Humans possess the peculiar ability to gift courage to others. Recommend further study, and perhaps if we're fortunate, perhaps we can learn this impossible thing, to be afraid and move forward anyway. After all, if humans can teach it, perhaps the rest of us can learn.